Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's a new experience. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one now. You got a question for RLN? Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Oh, now we getting real. Yeah, it's time to get down. Yeah, you gonna feel good now. Real good. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Time to get real.
Okay, everyone, time to get real. It's reality spirituality. I'm your host, Rebecca Lynn Norrington, and I want to welcome you to today's show. Sunday before the holiday, Memorial Day. This is an exciting show today because today I am going to give you concrete, surefire strategies to be happier in your life. That's what this show is about. Reality spirituality is about everyday life experiences, dissecting them, and discovering the link to spirituality, but more importantly, discovering what is keeping us from being as happy as we could be. Now, this concept of being happy is not about skipping and jumping and running through the tulips. No, this is about an internal happiness, a calmness, a peace that is inside your being, that is inside your head, your mind, inside of you. And it's like a thermometer or a temperature gauge for your heating or your air conditioning or your stove. You have the ability. In fact, you're the only one that has the ability to set your temperature gauge, set your happiness gauge. Sound a little crazy? Well, it's not. And this show is going to get us closer to discovering how we can set our gauge, set our temperature, set our vibration, and we can journey through this life relaxed, happy, excited, grateful, enthusiastic, passionate, loving. All of those emotions are going to be your main emotions, your core emotions, the emotions of anger, jealousy, rage, irritation, aggravation, resentment, sadness, all of those other emotions, those emotions that we felt and have felt. Guess what? They can be eliminated. Now, it's not going to happen overnight, but it is possible. Who out there is going to turn down, if I said I can make your life happier, and you don't have to buy anything, you don't have to read anything, you don't have to change who you are. All you have to do is just change, just tweak, change your perspective. Just look at the same situations that you have experienced in the past, but just look at them differently. Now, what the hell do I mean by looking at them differently? Right now, I'm in the studio and I'm trying to send a promotion to Facebook and Twitter, Blog Talk Radio, and every time I send it, it says sending to Facebook failed, sending to Twitter failed. Now this is the second time that I've done a show and I've received these and I've received this message. But can you hear any tension in my voice? Can you hear any frustration? Can you hear any No. What happens? Let me just speak personally. What happens to me now? This I can't say this happened 2 years ago, but whatever happens to me now, losing a wallet, parking ticket, disinherited, checks bouncing, whatever it is, car stolen, whatever happens, robbery, I can either choose to react in the way everyone else does on this planet usually, or choose to react a different way. Let me tell you a story. One of my close family friends, in fact, I consider he is a very important man in my life, and he's got a wonderful, it's a little family of three, the wife and the daughter is my goddaughter, and he told me a story yesterday, and it was very moving. And he's on the same wavelength as I am with this perspective. His mother, back in 1981, was killed in an automobile accident. She was hit by a drunk driver. Now, she wasn't killed instantly. She actually suffered in the car for minutes before the ambulance got there. They tried to revive her. It was a horrible, I'm using that word. Let me take that back. It was listen. I'm not going to take it back, but it was very traumatic. If you can imagine getting a phone call and one of your parents or your child, you just discover that they've been killed instantly due to a drunk driver or any circumstance. He was sharing that moment with me, and he said his mother's death was 7/11. That's how he remembers it, 7/11. It happened 7/11/81. And on that particular day, on 7/11/81, there was an eclipse, a solar eclipse. And just a few days ago, there was another solar eclipse. But he went on the internet because he was just, the universe was just inspiring him to get more information about this eclipse on the day that his mother died. His mother was killed. And he didn't know too much about solar eclipses, and I'm not going to pretend that I know, but so I'm just giving you secondhand information. Don't check the facts. It could be off or on. But the sun, this was a solar eclipse, and we all know that the moon orbits in front of the sun to cause this solar eclipse. Now, the sun is, what, hundreds and thousands, 700, 800, 900,000 miles wide. And our moon is, what, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 at the most wide? So you have this small object, this teeny tiny, this moon, can actually position itself in front of the sun to block most of the sun's rays, to create darkness. Now, everybody on the planet is not able to witness the full I'm sorry, I was looking at something. The full eclipse of the sun. Everybody is not able to witness the full eclipse. It depends on where you are on the earth. And it's a very limited size. In other words, you have to be in a certain position on the earth between a certain amount of a certain mile radius that you will be able to see this total eclipse of the sun. And that's where we come to today's lesson, this lesson about perspective. If you are outside the area of being able to view a total eclipse, then you are going to have a different perspective than the person that is right in the area or in the location where you can view a total eclipse. That is how our lives work. Every one of us, we are as different as our fingerprints. I really want you to understand that we are as different as our fingerprints. And so, because we are so different, raised by different parents, growing up in a different, even children in the same household, experience things differently and perceive circumstances, events, relationships with their parents differently. And I have to say, I have my hands on my head right now because this world has gone mad because I'm not going to say we, but it looks like everybody wants everybody else to think like they do. There is no way that anyone is going to be able to get inside of someone else's head to discover why they do, why they said, why they behaved, why they chose to. And I'm going to give you the perfect example. My same friend, when he was talking about this eclipse and being in a different and having a different perspective, this all came about because this perspective thing was one of his favorite subjects. It's one of my favorite subjects also. It's one of my favorite subjects to explore and to really, really get into the nooks and the crannies and what does that mean? Well, my friend was talking to an uncle of his, and this uncle was angry. And this uncle was angry because let me give you some names because I keep going back and forth with friends. Let's just say my family friend's name is let's see, I don't want to say the name. Let's say Steve, and his uncle's name was John. So my friend is Steve. So Steve said that his uncle called him and he was upset because he hadn't been making the phone calls. Steve's grandmother has been wanting to talk to Steve, and Steve, for whatever reason, has not been inspired to call his grandmother. And he has not been inspired to call his uncle. And he has not been inspired to call his aunt. And he has not been inspired to call anyone in the family just because there's not even, sometimes you feel like talking to people and sometimes you don't. So it's been maybe a month or something, and he just hasn't felt like talking to family members. He's not angry. There's nothing. There's no riff in the family. He just hasn't been inspired to. And that's another key. I know I go around in the circle, but that's another key. If you are not inspired to say, to do, to behave a certain way, and you do it anyway, you are going down a path to unhappiness, because now you're doing something that you don't want to do. You're doing something that you feel like you're obligated to do. You're doing something you feel like someone else wants you to do it, so you better do it. I'm telling you, your decisions have to line up with your inspiration. And when they don't, you can feel the difference. So for whatever reason, Steve did not feel like calling his family or talking, just for whatever reason. And his uncle called to chastise him about it, and to why haven't you called Grandma? You know, she's been waiting to hear from you, and why haven't you called Aunt Phyllis? And she just came home. She had that health problem, and why haven't you called Uncle Pete? And on and on and on. And finally, Steve said to his uncle, really listen to this, audience. He said, if I could find the words, if I could find a way to make you understand why I do anything, why I say anything, why I behave, if I could give you the words, if I could give you the sentences to help you understand why I do something, I would. But I don't have the words to make you understand why I behave in a certain way. I could try, but you're not going to understand it. And then Steve went on. He says, remember, Uncle, this was about 10 years or so, but remember, Uncle, when we were all at Grandma's house and you were angry. You were angry because you just woke up from your nap and you discovered that your wife and your daughter had gone out on an errand, and they hadn't discussed it with you, and they hadn't talked to you about it. You just woke up from your nap, and your daughter and your wife are gone. Now, they were going to be right back. Maybe they went to the store. They were going to be right back, but you went into a rage. He said, remember that, Uncle? Remember when you went into a rage and you were cursing and you were, why did they leave? And, oh, they're disrespectful. And he was screaming and calling them names because you felt you should have been awakened and you felt that you should have had some kind of say in them going on an errand or going out to shop. Steve says, you could explain that as to why you yelled at them and why you yelled and why you were upset, but I would never understand it because I didn't think all of that drama was necessary. I didn't understand it. And remember another one, Uncle. Remember when you called the police on your nephew Billy? Remember that? I didn't understand why you did it, but you did it. So if I could give you the words to help you understand, I would. But I have to say that I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to make you understand why I do what I do, why I say what I say. All I can do for you, Uncle, is accept who you are, what you do, the way you do things, accept it. Because quite frankly, that's what the universe does. That's what God does. God accepts us. The sun shines on the murderers and the saints. This accepting others without the need and the desire and the behavior of trying to change them or trying to convince them or trying to persuade them to do it our way, to think it our way, is a sure path to unhappiness. It's basically live and let live. I mean, live and let live. I'm saying that in the most spiritual way. It's really about allowing and accepting other people for their differences. And why? Do we accept other people for their differences to let them off the hook? No. It's for a selfish reason. It's because when you learn and when you practice and when you start accepting, guess what? You are happier. That's what this show is about, getting rid of obstacles to our happiness. Judgment, judging someone else's behavior, I don't care who it is, I don't care what they've done, detracts, subtracts from your happiness. This is a wonderful, wonderful topic, and I would also like you to call in, even though I wasn't able to send my Facebook messages that I don't even know if anyone's listening. Of course, people are listening, but send your emails to me. I thank you so much for your support for the show. I read all of the emails. I try to respond to all of them, even though I can't always. But I really appreciate the support. And we are going to be live again tomorrow on Monday, Memorial Day, for another Reality Spirituality show. You have been listening to Rebecca Lynn Norrington, Reality Spirituality. Have a wonderful day.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's a new experience. Reality, spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one. Reality, spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Reality, spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Reality, spirituality. Oh, now we get real. Get real. Get down, reality, spirituality. Yeah, you gonna feel good now, real good. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Time to get real.